In the film's opening scene, U.S. Special Forces sniper Bob Lee Swagger and his scout Donny Fenn are shown waiting in the Ethiopian hills, prepared to provide covering fire for a convoy of U.S. soldiers returning to their base through a hostile nation. While engaging in light talk, Donny glances at a picture of his wife, Sarah. A lone truck with a machine gun in the back speeds in the direction of the American convoy far below. With a single blow to the head, Swagger eliminates the driver and the shooter. As the Americans go along the road, it appears as though the operation is complete, but then a swarm of hostile militia approach and start shooting at the soldiers. As Swagger methodically eliminates a large number of them, Donny provides target information, enabling the U.S. forces to flee. The sniper's position gets exposed by defending the convoy, and the two snipers come under intense fire. Since the Americans aren't meant to be in the country, their commanding officer back at base is more focused on avoiding being noticed. Swagger and Donny are left for dead, abandoned to fend for themselves. Their position is being strafed by an enemy chopper firing them. Donny gets slain instantly. After killing his scout, Swagger finds a .50 caliber machine gun and fires back at the helicopter, causing it to burn down. As the helicopter crashes and explodes, smoke fills the screen. 3 years later, Swagger is a recluse from the civilization that left him, living alone in the mountains. Long-haired and unshaven, he lives alone with his dog, who has been trained to unlock the refrigerator and fetch Swagger a cool beer when he gets back to his cabin. Swagger turns on his computer and the internet while he and his dog share a swig of beer. He looks at news about a world that largely makes him shake his head. Wheelchair-bound Michael Sandor, Colonel Isaac Johnson, Jack Payne, and Louis Dobler are organizing an operation at a military office. Sandor suggests Swagger, and they talk about his past. This lost soul, former covert operative, now recluse, appears ideal for their mission. Johnson and his crew jump up the wooded trail and head out to meet Swagger. As the men get closer to his cabin, Swagger is alerted by his barking dog. Johnson shows Swagger his own Medal of Honor as he introduces himself. Tension increases as Swagger refuses to engage in conversation and reprimands Payne for attempting to entice the dog to him. As Swagger prepares a concealed blade and Payne cautiously reaches down for his rifle, the tension grows. After calming things down, Johnson persuades Swagger to allow him 5 minutes. Payne and Dobler wait outside while Johnson explains why they are there. They have a mole in one of their agencies and have turned to Swagger for assistance, after learning of a planned assassination attempt on the president. The fact that the assassin's shot would be fired from a distance of more than a mile, a shot that only a select few individuals can execute, is one of their few intelligence hints. Swagger is still opposed to the concept, but Johnson is adamant. Johnson wants Swagger to visit each of the 3 cities where the president will be visiting and look for possible sniper locations. Swagger starts to reconsider. Nevertheless, Swagger snaps a photo of Johnson appreciating their truck's engine as he gets ready to depart. Johnson and his guys understand Swagger's professional suspicion as they drive back down the mountain, since they know he took a picture of their license plate rather than the engine. However, he has accepted their idea. Swagger practices the beyond a mile shot while setting up a can of beef stew, and he does it perfectly. Swagger trims his beard and chops his hair. He informs his dog that he would be gone for a few days while he cleans his weapons. As promised, Swagger visits each site in turn and informs Johnson that Philadelphia is the most likely location. Johnson wants Swagger to assist in apprehending the assassin. On the day of the speech, federal officers, including FBI Special Agent Nick Memphis, are present along with snipers. Swagger, Johnson, Payne, and Dobler, as well as a chubby Philadelphia Police Department officer named Officer Stanley Timmons, are standing in an adjacent office. Shortly after the president starts talking, Johnson says they will take down the gunman, who he says is in a neighboring church tower. However, Timmons' gun is not properly holstered, which catches Swagger's attention. Following the Archbishop of Ethiopia's acceptance of an award, the president is expected to address. Swagger begs Johnson to order his troops to kill the shooter right now as the president gets to the stand. But then things take a turn for the worse. The Archbishop is shot in the head, and Timmons immediately shoots Swagger in the shoulder. Swagger hits a glass ceiling below after falling out of a window. Leaning out, Timmons drives Swagger through the glass ceiling with a shot to the gut. Payne chastises Timmons for not killing Swagger as his squad members gather their belongings. They leave a bullet and Swagger's sniper weapon behind. He staggers into Memphis and begs for his assistance as Swagger runs away. When Memphis pulls out his revolver, Swagger throws him hard to the ground. Swagger then declares to Memphis that he didn't kill the president. It was a setup and that Timmons was complicit. He shackles him to a gate. Swagger takes Memphis's gun and leaves in his vehicle. Memphis is caught up by Timmons, who informs the police that Swagger has stolen an FBI vehicle. Swagger hides from the helicopters by driving into a car wash while everyone is looking for him. Swagger jumps into the back seat of his car while it's being washed, makes a hole in the trunk, takes out a medical bag, and tends to his injuries. He is observed by the police again after speeding out of the car wash, and a chase starts. Swagger spins around when a pickup vehicle smashes the back end of his stolen car, landing him squarely in front of a line of policemen. Swagger drives through a construction site and straight into the Delaware River while the police shoot at him, putting the car in reverse. The car is retrieved by the police, but Swagger is absent. After being dragged alongside a boat, he passes beneath a bridge. He then takes off after hot-wiring a truck. FBI officers watch a news story on Swagger's escape and the attempted assassination in the meantime. Despite the fact that Memphis is only 3 weeks out of the academy and Swagger is extremely skilled, they are all upset because Swagger easily defeated Memphis. Memphis tells his commanding officer and other agents what Swagger said to him during a meeting, but they all claim he didn't hear anything. Memphis is going to be reviewed. After driving to a store and turning off the electricity so the proprietor cannot identify him, Swagger enters and purchases supplies. He then drives to an abandoned auto repair shop. Swagger uses the supplies to create an intravenous line for himself. After a night of driving, Swagger arrives at Sarah's house in Kentucky. Having seen the news about what transpired, she is surprised that he stopped by. He apologizes for not going to see her after Donny passed away, and Sarah welcomes him inside. However, every year on the anniversary of Donny's passing, she received his note and flowers. Sarah is given a list of items by Swagger, who then sends her out to purchase them. After a while, she purchases everything, and he gives her rapid instructions on how to care for his gunshot wounds and removes the bullet before he faints. She does a respectable job cleaning him up despite not being a nurse. Memphis investigates the assassination attempt further and talks about it with fellow agent Lourdes Galindo, who advises him to cease his investigation. Memphis's facts don't add up. For starters, Memphis believes that if Swagger had been the one who did it, he would not have missed the president, who was the presumed target. Swagger is an excellent sniper who can make difficult shots. The fact that the ballistics report was received just 10 minutes after the shooting, when the location was still under lockdown and before Swagger's pursuit had even started, further adds to his suspicions. In addition, Officer Timmons' account is dubious because Memphis is aware that no sniper would see a rifle barrel protruding from a window. In order to lessen the chance of being struck by opposing soldiers' return fire, they choose to sit back farther in the chamber and fire from there. He believes that Officer Timmons was involved in the frame-up and was slain to silence him because, as if that weren't enough, he was informed that Timmons was shot and killed by a mugger only hours after the shooting. Memphis visits every place Swagger visited, even the church tower, where he spots particular dust markings. Since Swagger would not have missed the president and struck the Ethiopian archbishop, he is certain that he is not the person they should target. Memphis also visits a firearms discussion room online, where he learns the precise type of firearm used in the attempted murder. He starts to realize that people are observing him during this period. After a while, Swagger recovers and informs Sarah that he will pursue the men who set him up. Sarah tells him that images of Swagger scouting out each area have been leaked, and that news reports claim that Swagger killed his dog and attempted to assassinate the president. Swagger intends to see this through to the end, since he is furious that they killed his dog. Sarah slaps him across the face and informs him that Donny knew exactly what he was getting into, even if he blames himself for Donny's death. Sarah offers to assist him and gives him Donny's sniper gun. They start by trying to locate Memphis. Sarah presents the pictures of Johnson's license plate to Memphis while disguising herself not to be noticed by the public. Police notices Swagger watching from across the street and believe he is suspicious. One police officer with an attack dog approaches him. Following the departure of Sarah in Memphis, Swagger causes a cop to be attacked by a dog and throws coffee in his face. Then he beats the living daylights out of the second cop and throws the cop and dog through a window. He leaves his jacket behind and moves on. Memphis tries to obtain information regarding the license plate number by breaking into a restricted area of the FBI building, but he is denied access and needs a Delta-level clearance. He begins to see the flaws in the facts of the Philadelphia shooting after Galindo threatens to dismiss him if he continues to investigate. However, she ultimately instructs him on how to obtain the security clearance. Johnson is alerted by Dobler about the online discussion room in an attempt to obtain security information at the Delta level. They intend to take Memphis out after realizing that he is looking in the wrong places. Memphis is kidnapped by masked men in a van while he is crossing a bridge. The men place Memphis in a setup that will force him to shoot himself after severely beating him. After using Donnie's weapon to shoot each man individually, Swagger releases Memphis, who acknowledges that Swagger was set up and consents to assist him. After learning that Memphis survived, Johnson is aware that he is now collaborating with Swagger. He gives his guys instructions to thoroughly investigate Swagger's past. They travel from Memphis to Tennessee to see an elderly, witty marksman master who could make a shot beyond a mile that's still alive. Swagger asks the expert, "There's just one man besides Swagger. In the past, the sniper was vicious, only shooting to injure and murdering anyone who attempted to assist the injured. Hundreds of people must have been slaughtered by him. Some thought he was dead because he was in a wrecked building." Michael Sandor, the Russian with a disability who works with Johnson, is the sniper. Johnson lets Sandor serve as bait to entice Swagger out since he knows that Swagger will search for the shooter. Dobler thinks Sarah aided him since he discovered that Swagger sends her flowers every year. Johnson gives the order to get her. Memphis and Swagger visit a large hardware store and purchase numerous items. After that, they drive into the woods and create gas bombs, pipe bombs, and napalm. Memphis is taught how to operate a sniper rifle by Swagger, who also forces him to practice while detonating bombs in the area. Sarah pulls out her shotgun in the meantime, believing that someone is in her home. A henchman with a silenced weapon shows up, but Sarah blasts him in the chest. Sarah is forced to put down the shotgun by Payne, who approaches her from behind. He punches her up after asking her where Swagger is. In another scene, Johnson meets with dishonest Senator Charles Meacham and obtains his consent to send in more than 20 troops to assassinate Swagger. Memphis and Swagger locate Sandor and prepare an assault. Swagger approaches the cottage, but Memphis stays close to the forest. He sets up several bombs after slinking up behind a guard and stabbing him in the back. He inserts more bombs after stabbing another guard in the chin. The fourth guard is shot in the head by Swagger, who easily dispatches the third. Now that he is by himself, Sandor tells Swagger the truth. The Archbishop was the target because he was supposed to discuss Americans committing genocide in order to construct an oil pipeline, but the president was never in danger. Making it appear like a botched attempt on the president was the best method to assassinate the Archbishop. Since he and Donny were covering the soldiers that killed the villagers back in Ethiopia, Swagger unintentionally contributed to the genocide. When Swagger inquires about Johnson, Sandor is unaware of his true identity, but is aware that he is employed by Meacham. Memphis alerts Swagger to the soldiers encircling the cabin. With a revolver in hand, Sandor shoots himself in the head. Swagger gives Memphis the command to detonate the gas explosives after the pipe bombs. When two soldiers enter the house, Swagger shoots them both to death. Swagger shoots his way out of the cabin after Memphis detonates the devices. A major shootout breaks out when Memphis covers Swagger. After Swagger reaches Memphis, they are attacked by a chopper. After reflecting on Donnie's passing, Swagger shoots the helicopter. The napalm bombs are detonated by both guys as they flee safely, destroying the chopper and blowing up the surviving soldiers. However, since all of the bodies were taken before the authorities arrived, the incident is being covered up. Memphis informs his superior officer that he has Swagger under arrest over the phone at the FBI field headquarters. He speaks long enough for the call to be traced. After that, Swagger phones Johnson, who expresses his want to meet. Swagger discloses that he recorded Sandor's confession about everything, and Johnson discloses that he is Sarah. Although he wishes to see him from a distance, Johnson consents to meet. Meacham is asked to be present by Swagger. Sarah, Payne, Meacham, and Johnson are all present at the meeting, which is held in the Cold Highlands. Payne is holding Sarah at gunpoint while he holds a shotgun in his hand. In the distance, they spot Swagger approaching them, but a concealed sniper instantly shoots him in the chest. Meacham and Johnson are happy, but one by one, their concealed snipers are shot in the head. It turns out that Memphis was approaching Johnson when Swagger pretended to be a concealed sniper. Memphis takes off his armor and keeps moving in their direction. With careful aim, Swagger blows off Payne's thumb and ruins his shotgun. After Payne lets out a startled giggle, Swagger blows off his arm. After Memphis disarms Meacham and Johnson, Swagger eventually moves at them. Sarah reaches for a pistol and kills Payne. Swagger declines Meacham's employment offer. After Memphis summons the FBI to their location, Swagger destroys Sandor's recording. Swagger is aware that whoever hands up the video is dead, but Memphis assures him that it proves his innocence. He confirms to him that there are no innocent people there, so they wait for the FBI to arrive. After a while, Swagger is taken to the Department of Justice for a meeting. Sarah, Memphis, Johnson, and the Attorney General are present. Without anybody else in the room noticing, Memphis gives Swagger a handshake and slips him. Swagger's hands are released, and his sniper gun is in front of him. He inquires as to whether the FBI or any other authority has tampered with the rifle, but they haven't. He turns to Memphis and asks if he trusts him with his life and if he believes in his innocence. Swagger inserts a round into the rifle, aims it at Memphis, and pulls the trigger to a loud click when Memphis says yes, but nothing occurs. The facts are unmistakable. He took the firing pins out of all of his weapons, including the rifle in front of him that was allegedly used in the shooting, before departing to survey potential sites. Therefore, he could not have killed the Ethiopian archbishop with his firearm. Swagger and Memphis then tie Johnson to the mass grave in Ethiopia, claiming that he is the really guilty party in the room despite his obvious innocence. However, the Attorney General is powerless to investigate crimes Johnson may or may not have committed abroad. After telling Swagger that he has won once more, Johnson is free to depart. The Attorney General, certain of Swagger's innocence, releases him. He informs Swagger that although justice isn't always fair, we no longer live in the Old West, when a pistol can be used to settle disputes. They stare at each other knowingly. A while later, Meacham and Dobler join Johnson at a secluded cabin to celebrate his triumph. Johnson and Meacham chuckle about winning again, and Meacham intends to relocate Johnson abroad in order to resolve another issue they are having. Dobler's face splatters with blood as he explains his next task. Right in front of him, a dead guard collapses. After being shot through the chest, Johnson becomes aware that Swagger is present. He suffers a terrible death as he tries to get away. Meacham tells Dobler to get the car once he switches off the lights. When Meacham's SUV blows up, the men get terrified. Dobler informs the other bodyguard that Swagger has moved beneath the cabin and is now beneath the floor. Swagger shoots Dobler in the knee from down the floor and then kills the remaining guard. After entering the cabin, Dobler begs Swagger to spare his life because he'd done nothing wrong. After striking Dobler in the chest, Swagger moves toward Meacham. He screams, "I'm a senator. You can't do this," as Swagger uses a pistol to blast his brains out before handing it to Johnson. As Swagger departs, the cabin explodes after he bursts the gas line. Sarah and Swagger are seen driving out to start their new life together as the movie comes to a close. Thanks for watching.